Walking along a path on the roots of Pikes Peak, you take a fork in the road to the Anselm Society Digital Pub. Inside is a raucous conversation on the arts, faith, and are we sure we want to have this conversation right now? Like, really? At a corner table by the fire are four people. One of them is saying, I don't know, this might be hitting a little close to home, guys. And that's me, Matthew Mellema, and welcome to Believe to See, a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. The Anselm Society is a coalition of churches across the Front Range of Colorado dedicated to one very simple goal, a renaissance of the Christian imagination. If you want to find out more about the Anselm Society, please visit us at anselmsociety.org. And while you're at it, please rate and review the show on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. And now, guys, let's get to the topic. I think this is a very important topic. Let me stipulate that right now.
Granted.
And this is also good because I'm not doing my usual, I'm super excited about this one. I kind of am. But also, I recognize we're sort of walking on tiptoe here. And we are talking about rejection as an artist. I guess as a human being too.
Oh, really? You didn't tell us about
Yeah, going back to trying to flirt with girls in middle school. No.
Okay, we have wine, but do we need whiskey?
We need more.
I was in 7th grade, and
you had frosted tips. We know the story.
I did, and they were very fashionable at the time.
At the time.
But we are talking about rejection, especially as artists, and how rejection can hurt us as artists, but also maybe help us, the healthy ways to deal with it, the unhealthy ways to deal with it, and ways to view it, and maybe, to go back to our theme, to help use rejection to situate us in the story of our lives, but also the lives of, those around us. So I am joined by three experts in the art of rejection. Mandy?
Yes.
Give me your overview on rejection as an artist. The 30-second elevator rejection pitch.
What? I reject the question. No. Are you wanting me to pontificate?
Yes.
I think probably each of us knows at least one person who irritatingly doesn't really deal with rejection. I have a friend Kirk Farber, I don't know if you remember him, Evangeline, who got the first agent he queried to, and she got his first publisher within 3 months, and then his first book won the Colorado Book Award. And those are the things that stick in your mind, but that's not reality. And the cool thing is Kirk even knows it's not reality. It's just his reality. So rejection, I think as artists, the hard thing is that, we talk like, our work is our baby, but I think it's more than that. I think it's ourselves. And of course my children are also that important, but you know what I mean. Okay, can you rewind? Start this over. I reject my own pontification. I think it feels like a rejection of what we have chosen to pattern our lives on. And so it feels like a rejection of who we are. When in actuality, each rejection truly is that one person or one organization's opinion. It doesn't mean universally we're horrible. Maybe Simon Cowell doesn't like our singing, but maybe Randy Jackson does,
So
is that too
if
old
you were
of a
to describe
reference?
how you feel going into the topic of rejection?
Reluctant.
Okay, there we go.
It's a hard thing to revisit.
Yeah, and we'll all agree, we'll stipulate Kirk is the worst. I've never met him, but I'm sure he's the worst. So, Evangeline Denmark, our other co-host, how do you feel going into the rejection topic?
Going into this conversation, I'm already tired. I'm already weary. Not tired, just weary, like life weary when it comes to rejection. I think I'm probably a little jaded. I might be a little bitter, but I have chocolate, so let's do it.
We're going to do it.
Okay.
All right.
And our third co-host, Jane Charles, how do you feel going into this topic?
I feel like the odd one out. It's not a big deal to me. I get rejected all the time. It's not a big deal.
Teach us.
I don't really know what to say. It just doesn't bother me really much at all. Maybe partly because what you were saying about how our work feels like our babies, it doesn't feel like my baby at all.
Oh, okay.
My work feels like when I'm working on it, it's my baby. When it's done, I really don't care.
Wow.
It's the process that matters to me. So
It's interesting.
I remember talking with someone, a really good friend of mine who's a splendid novelist. We were talking in grad school, and he was asking me, when are you going to start publishing? And I just was like, I don't know. Why would I publish? So I think I'm the odd
I'll be
one
like
out
Emily
here.
Dickinson. I'll just keep my work in a drawer, and then after I die, people will find it.
It's just not particular. If I think something I've written is good, well, I mean, it doesn't really matter because there's the next thing to write. I don't know. I think I'm the odd one out here. But I would still love to talk about it.
This is enlightening to me because you are extremely productive. And so to
thank
me,
you.
that's why. Because you are not sitting thinking about the thing you've done. You're like, well, I did that. That was wonderful. What a lovely creative process. And I enjoyed it. And
Usually
now
it's more
it's
like,
done.
am I allowed to swear at all?
I guess, but keep it to a minimum. We don't want that E rating.
Usually I say, it's more a question of, for me, what I want to say is beyond what I can say. So you do the best you can with the project that you have. Then the form gives way. It's held as much as it can hold. You try to just do what you can with it. And then you say, lovely, we're done. And you just move on. So I don't know. It's not very... And I love seeing my work in print, but I don't know.
Interesting. So the difference we have here, I'll tell you how I feel about rejection first. I have two sides to me. There's logical Matt, then there's like reflexive, like caveman Matt. Okay. So logical Matt's like, hey, you're sending this out to a lot of people, sending out this query letter or whatever. Most people just are going to say no. You know, going in, like 99% are going to say no. Reasons have nothing to do with you. Agents are wrong all the time. It's one person, doesn't fit for them, doesn't reflect you, doesn't reflect your work necessarily, certainly not you as a person. Mm-hmm. But then the rejection comes, it's like, no, I'm the worst. And that like ruins my whole day. I have a very emotional caveman side, but he cries a lot, I guess. But
I'm picturing the caveman who's like auditioning to do the cave paintings in that cave in France, and he's like crying outside because it didn't work out.
Exactly.
That's what I'm picturing.
I'm a very sensitive caveman. But the difference here is Vangeline, Mandy and I are novelists, where you are a poet. Would you say your attitude is more typical of poets, or do you think you're a little bit more unusual in that sense?
That's fascinating. Someone actually just sent me a quote. I can't remember who it's by, but the quote basically said, novelists tend to think that their work is good and to expect artistic success, meaning they expect to have done what they set out to do. And poets expect to fail at what they set out to do. Not necessarily expect to fail in publishing, but they expect to be unable to do artistically and creatively what they set out to do.
So to fall short.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's true, but it would be interesting if it was true, because that could explain this. Because to me, it feels like suppose that tomorrow I won the Nobel Prize in literature. Someone showed up at my house and said, here you go. First of all, I would say, you're an idiot. Don't give me this. But it wouldn't affect at all how I felt about my art, frankly. I would still feel like there were things that I needed to say that I couldn't say yet. So I think it's more just like whenever I set into a project, I anticipate failure creatively. It's an odd thing. And I don't know if that's how other poets are. That's a good question.
Could I ask, how did your upbringing, like your parents, approach when you failed?
Oh, it was no big deal. It was no big
We
deal.
have a winner.
Oh, yeah, it was no big
Okay,
deal.
no, in my house, no. If you fail at something, you wasted all your time.
Oh, yeah, no.
So I think it's more, because I tend to think my novel's never going to be what I want it to be.
Yeah.
But to me, I think I have a voice in the back of my head. Why are you trying to do this? That's why I didn't major in English. I was told, well, you're not going to be able to make a living as a writer. You have to do something else. So and that's why I started my writing so late in life.
Well, good for
So
you.
to me, it matters maybe too much, because to me, I'm trying to prove, no, this really is who I am. The fact that you didn't see it, So unfortunately, and I'm not saying this is healthy, this is unhealthy, I think there's a part of me that is trying to legitimize my self-identifying as a writer at all. So some rejections, they don't bother me at all. Because especially like if my agent sends, she's like, well, I'm sending it to so-and-so. And I'm like, and I'll look up whoever the publisher is. And I'll be like, I don't know why. But my agent at this point is like, I'm just sending it everywhere because I'm trying to get someone to buy it. So she's sending it to places that don't make sense. Well, she's done now. She's sent it to literally every publisher that existed. So I'm working on a different book now. So there were certain people who rejected it that it didn't hurt because I'm like, well, no, I'm not a
Doesn't
fit
make sense
for that. That's not me. But then there were a couple of other publishers that I really loved the other things they printed, and I wanted to be the kind of writer that fit in with those people, and I wanted to hear from someone that I really was. So I do know this is something
But I think that's real too. I think, I mean, I feel that too, where you submit to something and you say, oh my goodness, this is where everyone I admire is submitting.
Yes. Grove Atlantic would be my absolute dream.
Yeah, and you want to be that kind of person. That totally makes sense.
Right. Because those are the books I love to read.
Yeah.
And so that is what when I write, I'm trying to write as a reader. That's how I approach my writing, is I'm trying to write as a reader. And that's actually why I don't outline, not to bring up outlining again. But that's why.
Always with the outline slander.
It fit into what I was saying. So
I outline, Matt.
There we go.
I'm a poet and I outline.
It's 2 versus 2 now, Evangeline and Mandy. So.
Yeah, it's all right.
That's
Hey, we're
fair.
even. But so for me, when I get rejected from something that I really thought I fit into, then it sort of sends me in like a spiral of, who do I think I am?
Yeah.
Kind of.
Oh, that's dreadful.
I know. I'm sorry.
Well, and it does.
I get over it, but I'm just like the day or two after, it's hard.
That is more personal. It just is more personal when you're like, I remember one of my, all-time worst rejections. Of course, I stalked the editor online, and she was a Bronte lover, a feminist. Like she was everything, and I'm like, this person will get me. So there is a personal level when you really think that they're your kind of people. I mean, that's like going to the guild and guild people saying like, ew, what is this art that you do? Because those are our people.
Yeah. That's our tribe.
Yeah, so that is a different level than just like your agent sent it to this publisher, like just like, oh, what the heck, we'll try it. And then they didn't like it, and you're like, yeah, okay,
And
whatever.
some of them I was like, phew, I did not want to be alongside some of those other
You were just like, I don't belong in that.
I know.
So, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I don't want to steal your time.
You're a co-host now. You can ask questions.
We can do whatever we want.
These are some of the privilege you get when you were in co-host status.
I'm just curious whether you would keep writing if you knew you'd never be published again.
Good question.
That is a good question that I have wrestled with. And here's the it's an intricate answer, which I'll try not to take up too much time. But when I can shut down the voices that are truly external, even though they live in my head, dang right, I would write.
Yeah.
Because I'm never, I'm actually going to cry. I'm sorry. Not because of rejection, but just I love writing. There is nothing like it when I am in those, when you're doing what you were created to do. And it's like the runner for Chariots of Fire. When I run, I feel God's pleasure.
Yeah.
When I am truly writing and I've shut down all those voices, some of which are imaginary, they're just imaginary critics. When I can do that, that's all I want to do. But that is the question, is can I shut down the voices? So each rejection, I don't tell my worst critics in my real life, my agent submitted and because then they'll ask, and then, they try to be supportive. Hopefully they won't listen to this podcast. I don't know. We'll have a discussion next Thanksgiving if we do. Anyway, no, it's fine.
Just invite me. I'll stick up for you.
It's fine.
It's not like that. Just like that friggin' Kirk guy.
Yeah, no, Kirk is awesome. Anyway,
Whatever.
We love him.
No, he's really awesome. He's actually apologetic whenever people are like, did you? And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. So unfortunately, a lot of times those are the voices I hear first when I get a rejection. It's like that, see, you wasted your time. Yeah. You're not who you think you are.
Well, and I think it's difficult. I don't think there's a right or wrong answer to that question, because there's a point at which you have to receive the world's opinion, and you might just not be very good and you might need to get better. There's that difficult balance you have to strike of like, oh my gosh, how do you balance those things?
Right. And honestly, that's what, I mean, not to plug Anselm or anything, but that's like a really excellent element of Anselm and the Guild. I have been more consistent in getting back up and trying to write again since I've been in Anselm than ever.
Yeah, like you said, Jane, there are two equal and opposite mistakes you can make when approaching rejection. There's the sort of person who will say, oh, if you don't understand my art, that's your problem. This is amazing. How dare you question my talent? I'm not changing a word. And then there's the other mistake on the opposite end, just like, oh, this random agent didn't want to read my manuscript. I must suck.
Right.
It's not just, first of all, my work sucks, and then I suck. Like, both are huge mistakes.
Right.
I am inclined to fall into the, oh, I must suck camp. So that each one has its own pitfalls. But like you were hinting at, Jane, the trick here is to try to discern what is a valid criticism, what is, oh, this may be a problem with my book that I need to address. Oh, I might need to work on this and get better. Oh, maybe my manuscript isn't ready yet. I might need to revise it more or send it to someone else. And what is just somebody, when do you just need to believe in your own work? I'm not asking you to sketch that out, but that is a difficult line to walk.
I was a creative writing teacher and a high school English teacher, and I would say almost without fail, the ones who just thought I was wrong when I gave them constructive criticism were not good writers. I had one student who was forced to take creative writing because he had to take an art credit, and he was like, I hate writing. It didn't take long for me to figure out he hated writing because he could never write as well as he wanted to write. Guess who's a professional writer now? That guy. So sometimes, I'm not saying everyone, you should hate your own writing. It'll mean you're a good writer. It's not what I'm saying. But I think the dichotomy and the dissonance right there, I don't think dichotomy was the right word, but anyway, the dissonance between what we want to create and what we're able to create, and that frustration, you probably are on the right track if you feel like you're falling short. But if you think the whole world is wrong, then you are probably that tone deaf guy in American Idol. Sorry.
Oh, that guy.
So
it seems like a key. Again, I'm logical Matt's talking. Caveman Matt is crying in the corner of his cave right now. But
see, we have 5 hosts.
Yeah, there's logical Matt, Caveman Matt, and then you three. So logical Matt knows that the healthy way to do this is to try to get some sort of objective distance between you and your work, knowing, one, I am not this manuscript that I wrote. You know, a manuscript can be bad. Like I used to try to write articles for different publications. This pitch may be bad, but that doesn't mean I'm bad. And two, what I am right now isn't necessarily what I'm going to be in the future, right? It's the growth mindset. It's knowing, hey, maybe I need to work on stuff as a writer, but I can get better at it if I improve, and maybe someday in the future I can get better at it. I know objectively that is the case, but again, whenever I get a rejection, my objectivity doesn't friggin' matter at all. So it's this case of how do you train your caveman self to not freak out and acknowledge that your logical self is actually right in this instance.
Can I read a quote from T.S. Eliot?
Sure.
Would that be okay?
Oh.
Okay. This is from East Coker, and this is kind of where I always go when I'm confused about what I'm trying to do as a writer. So East Coker is in the 4 quartets. It's the third. It's one of the 2 middle of the 4 quartets. So there you go. Here he says, so here I am in the middle way, having had 20 years largely wasted, the years of l'entrée de guerre, trying to use words, and every attempt is a wholly new start and a different kind of failure, because one has only learnt to get the better of words for the thing one no longer has to say, or the way in which one is no longer disposed to say it. And so each venture is a new beginning, arrayed on the inarticulate, with shabby equipment always deteriorating in the general mess of imprecision of feeling, undisciplined squads of emotion. And what there is to conquer by strength and submission has already been discovered, once or twice or several times, by men whom one cannot hope to emulate. But there is no competition. There is only the fight to recover what has been lost and found and lost again and again, and now under conditions that seem unpropitious, but perhaps neither gain nor loss. For us, there is only the trying. The rest is not our business. So East Coker is about writing, but it's also about the spiritual life. And there's this unity for T.S. Eliot between how you use language and how you attempt to approach the world in a holy and cohesive way. So I just always go back to that because I think that's such a beautiful description of the writer's relationship with language, how you can say what you no longer want to say.
Right.
And the thing that you want to say, you cannot say, and you will someday, but only when you no longer want to say.
Right. 3 o'clock in the morning. When
Yes.
Right.
So it's a puzzling situation, and I think that it's, for me, that's helped me build distance with my words, because when I recognize, okay, this is not the essence of me, I'm beyond this manuscript. Mm-hmm. So if this manuscript is rejected, it's an earlier version of me. Mm. This isn't me anymore. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Does it?
Yes, I think.
Evangeline's been quiet.
She's weary.
No, well, yeah. But also, you gave me a lot of wine. That's on you. No, I really like that, thinking about it that way, because every new novel is impossible. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know? Yeah. In every project.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, it doesn't matter that I've written however many novels before this. This one, I can't do this one.
Right.
I don't have what it takes to do this one. And then you acquire what it takes, and then you finish the novel, and then there's the next one. And maybe it doesn't make sense. Maybe that sounds ridiculous to people who are not of my particular writing temperament, which you guys are all nodding, so you must get it. But yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Every project that I come to, I'm like, I am not equipped.
Or mid-project.
Yes.
Like for me right now, the one that I'm working on right now, I just rewrote the entire first third, and I read it the other day, and I was like, oh, I actually like this. I'm either really dumb today, or I did something, I don't know. I'm going to have to look at it again. So I have this euphoric feeling that I've done something good. I walk out of my office, and before I even got into the family room, I was like, I don't know what's going to happen next, though. I have no idea. I'm not going to be able to think of anything.
Yeah. It's over.
It's over. It's all done.
That feeling that, like, I'll never write again.
Yes,
Right.
I've been there for 2 years.
Evangeline, you will write again.
You will.
You will.
I'll get there.
But I do think that's a question. I mean, all of us are professional writers in the sense that we've done, like, we've been around the merry-go-round, and we know, okay, I'm going to write again. Like, but there are so many people out there who are at the beginning, and I always just wonder, okay, what do you say to someone who they just worked up the courage to submit their first poem, their first story, and it got rejected?
Right.
And they're not professional writers. They have nothing to stand on to say to the world, I'm a writer. So how do we talk to that person about rejection?
So let's let Logical Matt have his say.
Okay. Welcome, Logical
Caveman Matt, just go deeper into your cave, okay? Go away.
Go away.
So I do think a big thing here is going back to the growth mindset, which is something that I do not naturally have, and is something I want to have, and I'm trying to have, because my caveman me, that friggin' dude over there, his attitude is, if I try something new and I'm not instantly good, then I suck and I hate this and I'm never doing it again. And that makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Right.
Because
none of us would have ever walked.
Exactly. As G.K. Chesterton once said, if a thing is worth doing, it is worth doing badly.
Poorly. Yes. Badly.
He put that in an essay about women.
Which is so lovely.
I did not know
It's lovely because he talks about how women are queens of their home and they have absolute dominion. So if they want to try a new hobby and they absolutely mess it up, it doesn't matter. Nobody can call them out. If they want to try a new recipe and it's awful, guess what? Everyone has to eat it. No one has a say. And I love it.
Sit down.
Sorry.
Eat
Go
it.
ahead.
So yeah, so the first thing I would say to that person just starting out is, hey, if you keep working at it, if you keep practicing, if you keep putting in the hours, you're going to get better. Like, you are not at the peak of your writing powers right now. You're beginning. So keep working at it, you'll get better. And second, I think there's this fallacy, I fall into it very easily, where if a particular project does not have instant measurable results, that it's wasted. Because I have had, like, you all who've been around Anselm a long time know, I have had other writing projects that I have since abandoned. And like I was doing a nonfiction memoir that I went very far in the publishing process with, and it failed at the last minute, and I was extremely depressed about it at the time. But I now see it's kind of a good thing it didn't get published. But then I now have this tendency to look back now that I'm doing other writing, thinking, oh, that time I wasted doing that memoir, I could have been doing this and this and this instead. It was like, first of all, no, nobody has an exact linear course of their life. And two, looking back at my old writing projects, I can see how they have helped make me better as a writer. Some writing projects that I did a couple years ago that are tangentially related to this writing project I'm doing now. It was 20,000 words that were part of this book, and I cut it. Rightfully so, but I'm looking at it again, a couple years later, I don't even remember writing some of it. And I'm thinking, first, wow, I use a lot of M dashes. Second, hey, some of this is actually useful. And third, hey, I think I've gotten better since I wrote this, which is a really nice thought to have.
That's great.
So even if I can't use it for anything, the fact that I kind of got the reps in is inherently useful.
Yes.
And that is true regardless of what Caveman Matt thinks.
I love that. Get the reps in. Because you would
Get the
do that
reps in.
if you were super into exercising or if you were super into playing the piano or
If
something.
I
You
were
just
super into
practice. I am not. So I think that's a really good point because I think a lot of people don't think of art that way as you get in the reps. Like,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I think we tend to feel, some people, me included, like being good at art is like this magical thing. And so we think we either have it or we don't, and we don't want to like slog along and have the down days. But that's not reality.
Yeah, I don't know if I heard this somewhere, if I just thought it and forgot about having the thought, but to succeed at anything,
Quote
you need...
yourself, Matt.
It's either G.K. Chesterton or me. So in order to succeed, you need three elements. You need a modicum of talent, you need a modicum of hard work, and you need a modicum of luck.
Yes.
And that applies to pretty much everything. I think it applies to writing. You do need a modicum of talent. You don't necessarily need to have, nobody has the talent to just instantly create great stuff immediately. You need to work at it. That's the second part.
Unless you're Kirk.
To work, friggin' Kirk. Don't mention Kirk around here. He's not welcome here.
Can we have him on?
He lives in Wisconsin, but he would probably be willing.
to have him on.
I can loan you
Have
his
him
book.
defend himself.
Mandy and Evangeline will be trying to talk about it. I'll just be like taking pot shots at him the whole time. Shut up, Kirk.
His book is called Postcards from a Dead Girl.
Oh, see, that's fun.
What a stupid title. But anyway, so you need the modicum of talent. You need the hard work, first of all, because it helps you create the stuff. And also, you get better. Just as anything, you get better. And third, you need the luck. Like, let's go back to friggin' Kirk. I'm sure he's talented. I'm sure his stuff was good. I'm sure, let's be real. He got lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
And there's some stuff like the law school I got into. Part of it, I'm not trying to be like, well, I was lucky. The professor who was on the hiring committee happened to work at blah, 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 and it was stuff totally beyond my control.
Yeah.
Now, also, I'm sure I worked super hard and all this other stuff, but there was a lot of...
You did not deserve it, but
I was lucky.
You were lucky. That was part of it.
That was part of it.
Right.
And that's how it is with everything. And the thing is, the longer you work, the more opportunities you have to be lucky.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's
Like my old football coach used to say. This is true.
I can tell by your posture right now.
Luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Yes, I have heard that. I don't think that's original to your football coach.
Or his football coach is famous.
No, or that.
Yeah, there you go. Shout out Coach Pazno.
I think that's a really good point. And I think the other element of that is you're not going to succeed by yourself.
Yeah.
You're just not. And if you don't have a community of people who you can share your work with and get honest feedback and you trust them to tell you this isn't working, it's going to be so much harder.
Right.
And when you're in a community like that, like when one person gets luck, they feed it down to you. Like they get published in a journal and then you can mention their name when you submit to the journal. And like being in a community is really, really important. So I'd say like for people who are listening who don't feel like they have that writerly community, like reach out, because I know and I'm guessing everyone at this table would love to like either help you find that for yourself or like be that for you. So yeah, don't try to do it alone. It's not going to work.
I will also say community is hugely important, but not all communities are created equal.
No.
And so
Find a good one.
right. And know yourself and your goals well enough that you don't take every single thing as gospel truth. Because when I first started trying to write again in my 30s, I got in this online critique group, whatever, and this one girl, I did every single thing she said to my book. I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense, oh, blah, blah, blah. And I did everything she said. I don't know why I trusted her implicitly. She was no farther along in the process than I was, but I just did, because it was really that I doubted myself explicitly. But I remember the exact day I read Gilead by Marilyn Robinson, and I mentioned it in our little email group, and she goes, oh my gosh, I could not stand that book. I didn't get past the first page. And it was like dawn arose in my brain, and I was like,
she doesn't know what she's talking about.
Not necessarily, but she certainly doesn't know what I like.
She's not tracking with you.
She was not.
Yeah.
So she did not, if she didn't like the first page of Gilead, I read, like literally the first page specifically, I read, I don't know how many times in a row, just because it was so gorgeous. And she
didn't like it.
Hated it, didn't turn the page. So I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So really, yes, community is 100% important. It doesn't mean this girl doesn't know what she's doing. She's a humor writer. She's doing fine with what she's doing. But just be aware that the people who read your work and who give you feedback know what you are about. And that they see it and that they have some kind of simpatico with you.
Yeah, find your people.
Find your
Be
people.
Deliberate about finding your people.
You said that a lot more succinctly than I did.
I had some time to think about it.
Oh, good.
So I arrived there.
Something that has helped me in the past is if you ask someone, okay, who are the 5 people you're reading right now? And then who are the 5 people that you are always reading? And if you've either never heard of any of their people or you don't like their people, probably don't ask them for your insight. Like, it's not going to be a good...
That is a really good point.
The other thing is, if someone says, oh, I don't really read much.
Oh.
Which, startlingly frequently, writers don't read. Or they're not reading carefully.
I don't get that.
I don't get it either.
Whoa.
But don't take feedback from someone who's not constantly reading.
Something.
Right. Yeah. Right. And so I think those are a couple things you can do to just find your people rapidly. Filter them out at a cocktail party.
Yes.
You're like, that's not my person.
Or a writing convention.
Exactly.
You don't know who Wendell Berry is, but you love James Patterson? Okay.
Whoa.
Maybe we'll go to coffee, but I'm not going to talk to you about my manuscript.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we have reached the point now where we are ready to start
To be rejected? Oh, to talk about rejection.
Yeah.
Now we're all going to get fired from the Anselm podcast.
Oh, a form of rejection again. So
What are you going to make us talk about, Matt?
So I want to talk about the rejectometer.
Oh, the great
Okay,
rejectometer.
so a little bit of background here, listeners. So at the past several guild meetings, we've been, one of the things we talk about is all the people who rejected us, and trying to figure out what's a form rejection letter. This is gonna sound so sad, guys. I'll just tell you, I got a rejection letter from an agent that sounded personalized. Like I got the impression they read it and actually liked it. I saved the email.
No, that's good. That's good. No,
that's
that is exactly what you should do.
I save all my tiered responses. Like because there's this thing called Rejection Wiki. Everyone should know about it. You can go through and look up their bottom level rejection, and then their like next tier up, but good rejection, and then sometimes there's a personal rejection level. I save all of my next level up ones. All of them.
So like the complimentary, it's just not for me ones.
Yeah, and Rejection Wiki has them so that if you get a rejection and you think it feels good, you can go cross-check it with other people's, and you can say like, oh, I got like the third tier rejection. This is awesome. Then you go buy yourself a drink.
So some of us, while we were, swapping rejection stories, got the idea, hey, it would be really funny if for all of us at Anselm, we had a running chart to see who could get the most rejection points within a given year. And it's January 2022 beckons or looms, I don't know, whichever one you want to use.
It's upon us.
Yeah, threatens. Cue like the orc music in Lord of the Rings.
The wave is cresting.
So I thought it would be really fun to get a point system here because I'm a lawyer and I love rules, and
What?
to try
We
to,
did not know that about you.
I love them to death.
And outlines.
Yes. Well, outlines are just kind of they're a codified set of rules.
100%.
They're the rules for my
They're
story.
the rules you've written for yourself. For
Exactly.
Your story. I gotcha.
Exactly.
I got it.
So I thought it would be fun to get a point system to try to figure out what kinds of rejections hurt the most, because the more painful, the more points it should be.
Oh.
So you could do this one of two ways, because you could say like a form rejection where it's clear like the agent didn't look at it. They're like hungover on a Monday.
I got
They're
a
like,
half sheet one time.
So that's the thing. Like, should a form rejection be more points or should it be fewer points? Because like, the tiered ones, like they looked at it, they digested and rejected. Or like, let's say you get an agent, then like you get turned down by the book publisher at the final stage. At one sense, you're really friggin' close.
At least you have the agent, right?
Yeah, exactly. You've done all this stuff. Or should it...
But it's bad.
Okay. Evangeline is nodding her head. Do you think it should be more points to get rejected at the final stages?
I almost think like there should be some kind of cross section having to do with, I don't know, like how much you thought that they were, like we talked about before, like you thought that was your person, you thought that this was going to work. Versus
So like it's optimism.
Oh,
versus
okay.
the
I like
ones-
that. I like
versus
that.
The ones that you're like, I don't really think this is gonna go.
So
'Cause
maybe
I
like
have
like
gotten
like a multiplier.
You have to multiply it by the factor of expectation.
Like
Okay.
I submit to the Paris review every 6 months. Do I ever feel disappointed when I get rejected by the Paris review? No, not at all. But if I get rejected from a journal that my college buddy runs, ouch!
Holy
Ouch! So yeah, I think there needs to be some sort of
I don't know
function
how to
here.
quantify all of this. Well, I'm not a
I'm
mathematician.
glad
so.
that's Matt's job.
Well, let's start with the baseline. I think the baseline should be if you get rejected, let's say first level, so agent.
Okay.
If you get rejected in a form letter, 1 point.
Okay. So my half sheet that wasn't even cut straight and it was just typed and just said "Dear Writer."
Wait, so
It's cold. It's
so
just cold.
was it a form or
Oh
was
yeah.
Is it in the mail?
Yeah. This was a long time ago. I'm very old. I rode my horse and buggy to the mailbox.
It was the only mail I got for 6 months.
The Pony Express was late.
No news from
No, it was. No, I would say it was probably in 2004. So, I mean, computers
Wow.
existed, but yes, it was mail. Wow, what? Were you 5?
Well, in sympathy with you as a fellow.
Yes, no,
yes.
it was mailed. Well, I had mailed that we've mailed
Okay, so
manuscripts.
that actually leads to another relevant consideration. I think we should agree that there's like a times 3 times 5 multiplier if you feel like it's an especially good fit, right?
Yes.
So let's say times 3 multiplier
times
if it's
3
a good
multiplier if it's a good fit.
Okay.
All right.
fit. Okay.
So is this just for books, or is this for the poets of the world?
For
who
everything.
do-
So
for everything.
poetry.
Okay,
So
good.
like maybe someday I'll go back to pitching articles for people.
Okay, perfect.
I didn't because of a particularly bad rejection experience.
Oh, man.
I
See, I've never had an article rejected. Maybe I'm supposed
Whoa.
to be
Maybe
doing
you should be an
non-
essayist.
Wow, that's cold, Mandy.
I've definitely had
I know.
articles rejected.
You had articles
Oh, sorry.
rejected? That's never happened to me.
What kind of a loser is that?
So,
Mine always just get accepted. I don't know. But
sorry, I have no way to dig
so that's
myself
another good
out
thing.
of that.
Should these be different? Like, should a novel be different points from a poem?
I mean, I feel like that's such a bigger investment. Like because I've had a poetry collection rejected before.
No, there we
like
go.
90 poems. That feels like a bigger deal
that's a
than
bigger
one
deal.
poem.
That is a
you
bigger
know?
deal.
Yeah.
Okay, so I need
There's
different.
like book versus like short story, single poem
Yes.
article.
And then like
That's
for
different.
like articles, a lot of times I'll pitch it before I've written the darn thing, right?
Yes.
So there's very little investment there. So it's basically an idea. I've written 3 pithy sentences.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
that's
so that
much
should
less
be
than
the
a
bare
written-
minimum. So that's 1 point. And
Okay.
if it's a novel, let's go up to 10.
10.
So then we have the multipliers, full
Yeah.
factoring in. I'm actually writing things, listeners, just so you know. This is
Oh,
actually real.
Honey, they knew that.
They never doubted. This is the sort of thing you're into. They all know it. Then, like, let's say, 3 points for a poem, 5 points. So if a query,
Jane,
like
he's asking you.
if an article
No.
pitch is 1 point and a novel is 10, how many should a single poem be?
Probably 2.
Okay, let's say 3. Let's say 3.
That's so generous.
That just feels
We're not
more
going
right.
to devalue.
Thanks.
Okay.
I mean, just because they're short, I
One
mean,
does,
the time
yes.
as one does.
Okay.
It's not like
Okay.
it's just you wrote it in
You
a
didn't
day.
dash
and
it off.
was-
It's not a
If
limerick.
you're Sylvia Plath, you write like 8 in a day. It's ridiculous.
Okay, so we have that. We have so should the good fit multiplier be times 3 or times 5?
Times 5.
Times 5,
Yes.
okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because
Mostly 'cause
it's
I
like
just
the
really want me and
light
you to
at the
win.
end of the tunnel that is so harshly extinguished. That's what that is. So yeah.
That makes sense. So now let's go to the different stages. So should opening stage rejection be more points or fewer points?
Fewer.
Fewer. Okay, so we're going to
Because
say...
I think for one thing, I think you're probably sending it to more people, so your odds of rejection are higher.
And
That
you
is
get the
true.
multiplier to
That is
kind
true.
of compensates.
Yeah, and especially if you're a brand new writer and you don't know that you really ought to look into who you're submitting to, you're probably getting a lot more rejection
That
than
is a
you
tip,
want.
kids. Research.
Yes, definitely research. If they don't take fiction, don't send them fiction. Yeah, so I think lower.
Okay.
So just-
That is because I will say when I get like my queries rejected, it bums me out, but I'm able to talk myself out of it pretty soon.
Yeah.
When my book was rejected by the very final stage of the publishers,
That's bad.
That was the memoir.
yeah,
Ugh.
that was a punch in the gut.
Oh, Matt, that's
Like,
brutal.
I remember talking with the editor. The editor loved it. We were having this nice chit chat, and it was about all the purpose of the book, blah, blah, blah. I was telling jokes. And we both hang up the phone laughing, and life. Art.
You were on
And
the heights. You
Then
were-
apparently, reading between the lines, the editor makes the pitch to the publishing board, and they hated it.
I'm glad you can laugh about it now, even if it's just
Matt,
hysteria.
That's brutal.
So that was a punch in the gut.
That's horrible because you were at such great heights.
Oh, everything was going great. I get
You
the
were, like,
agent, the editor loves it.
seeing your future.
That's like a
Yeah, exactly.
sad moment in a show, like
Yep.
a TV show.
It
Is
is.
the editor still at that particular
don't
place?
know.
Because if there's that big of a disconnect, I feel like that's not on you. That's
Maybe.
a problem within their
We believe in you, Matt.
press. Yeah.
Well, I don't believe in that project anymore. But
Oh, okay.
that's
Moving
the one
on.
I abandoned.
Also, sometimes the Holy Spirit does things.
Yes,
It's true.
I'm legitimately glad that book did not get published.
Oh, well,
but
that's
so
I have
yeah,
one like that too.
What should
You
the
have one like that where you're glad it didn't get published. Yeah. I think that's worth saying for people. Like, guys, sometimes rejection is
Down the road, it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, I was telling you guys before we started recording, it was not in the rejection letter, to be fair. I got a rejection letter from an agent, and then I asked her, what could I do to improve this novel? And this was my very first novel. And she's like, well, I'll just send you my reader notes. And the reader's note, the conclusion of the reader was, this story has no reason to exist. So I was, wow. So that was, but however, the reader was correct.
Right.
Harsh, but correct. That is the book that I probably, because I love the characters, I do think I will cannibalize that in the future and recreate the book. But dang, that was not, that was never going to get published.
Along those lines, like I was reading this this article just on like stats on like books that get published in my genre, and it's extremely common. Like on average, people write like 2, 3, maybe like 4 novels that don't get published before they write the novel that does get published.
Right.
So that underscores a few things. First, if your first novel, your precious little darling, doesn't have a reason to exist,
Yeah.
cool. All right.
I got my reps in.
Yeah, you got your reps in. Move on to the next one. You're a better writer now.
Yeah.
Okay. Second, it shows that the people who actually succeed, maybe they're not the most talented necessarily. They're the ones that stick with it.
Right.
They're the ones who put in the work, where everyone else, like my caveman's like, quit now, just go to hunting woolly mammoths.
Well,
Whereas the ones who succeed are like, okay, this one got rejected, that one got rejected, but I'm going to keep working anyway.
well, you know, people like to tell you, oh, so-and-so got rejected this many times. I think To Kill a Mockingbird was 27, something like that. I can't remember how many times The Help got rejected, but I remember seeing the interview with her, and it was up there, 20s, 30s, something like that. She said to the interviewer, she said, oh, but see, this is what people don't understand. I changed it every time. She took the notes every time. So the one that got accepted was not the one that had been rejected 30 times. And I think that's something a lot of beginner writers need to understand that I didn't understand. I was like, I just need to keep submitting it and the 27th person will love it. No, you have to take notes and work. You have to do the work. It's a talent, but it's also work.
So much work.
And sometimes that is the case.
Right.
And sometimes it is you leave the project and that was just your reps.
Right. Sometimes. Right.
And
Exactly.
It was never meant to, and it's hard. You don't know. You don't know which it is really until like, you know, hindsight when you're like, I'm glad that novel didn't get published. And I didn't know that for 5 years after.
It's like the guy you're glad you didn't actually ever date.
Yes.
You know?
Or marry.
I have a few.
Yeah. And it's hard to know. And so, I think you kind of follow your gut. If it's like, you get those notes back and you're like, this agent's right. This agent is right. This will make this better. You follow your gut and you do that. And then either you keep trying or you reach a point where you're like, nope, not this one.
Well, I divorced my first agent because she wanted me to change something that I remember my girls were smallish. They were probably like elementary and middle school at the time. And they had poor little things. I homeschooled, so they knew my whole book. Anyway, I told them what my agent wanted me to do. And before I could say anything, both of them were like, my character's name was Whip. And they're like, Whip wouldn't do that. And I'm like, exactly. And so I was like, see ya. And then I have my other agent. But anyway, there are times when you have to trust the people who know things until what they're saying is going just against your heart and what you're really trying to do as an artist.
But I think that's interesting too, what you're really trying to do as an artist. I think when you're starting out as an artist, you have no idea what that is. So it's worth taking time, to think about it clearly and critically, to think, okay, what am I trying to do? And you don't write it out in a thesis statement that you make sure you include somewhere in your project. That's the wrong way to approach it. But but you
Matt, don't do that.
But you have to be clear in your own mind. I had a mentor in grad school who would always ask over and over again, he'd say, what is your obsession? And the obsession that I identified for him on my first day of grad school is still my obsession. It's still the thing that I'm wrestling with, 6-7 years later. And I think just having that as almost a compass, and then if someone starts telling you do something that goes against your obsession or downplay your obsession or something, like that is not worth listening to. But you have to go deep to find your obsession, to find out, okay, what are you trying to do? What are you wrestling with? I don't know. That was just really helpful for me in learning to filter feedback. Like, well, this clearly doesn't understand my obsession, so I'm not going to listen.
Right.
Oh, this understands what I'm trying to do, and it says I'm not doing it. That I'm going to listen to.
Oh, I love that.
Yep, and it is very hard to, especially in the moment, to do
Right.
that. I think I was telling some Ansel folks, maybe you all, but I sent my manuscript, my middle grade manuscript, to someone who was also in the middle grade genre, and they sent me back these really detailed notes. Like it was really great. You could tell they put a lot of effort into it. And when I first read them, as I was reading through them, my first reaction was I was offended. It's like, how dare they? And then like that night, as I'm like laying in bed at 3 a.m, unable to fall asleep, I'm like, I suck. They're right about everything, and I'm just the worst. And then like later, like the next morning, in the light of day, I like look at it as like, okay, there's actually some good stuff here. There's some stuff like that one I disagree with. This one, okay, yeah, I think I can make these changes and try to actually incorporate it. And it was a process, and I had to let my caveman like flail his club around before I could actually be like, oh, okay, and try to like sift like, okay, this is helpful. This one maybe I should talk to him about. And it is tough to do.
It's really hard.
You have to let yourself feel.
Yeah. You're saying I shouldn't just banish my caveman?
No, keep the caveman.
No, keep the caveman, feed him chocolate and brandy or whatever, and then
He only eats mammoth.
Pretty
give him.
sophisticated.
He only eats mammoth. Yeah. What caveman drinks brandy? I don't know. Anyway,
It was probably pretty early, guys. Just put fruit and water in a jug and leave it for a couple months.
probably all the water
Not
was
hard.
brandy-ish. Anyway,
Eating mammoth and
I mean,
Brandy.
just don't let him. I don't know.
dominate, club you,
Club you. Don't let
drag
him
you
club
off
you.
to his cave.
Just listen to what he has to
I don't
say.
know, he's pretty sophisticated. I might like to visit his cave.
Then take a nap.
Her.
Take a nap, and then move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, give him his say. Just like as a father of 4, you let the child
Do their
get
thing.
upset.
Yep.
Like when Peter and I were over for dinner, and your poor Sam held his roll under the table, and the dog got
ate
it.
We only
was-
warn them about that like every day.
I know. He was understandably devastated. You let him be devastated, and then you gave him a new roll. So same thing. So treat your caveman like one of your children.
Oh my goodness.
One of mine used to cry when the dog stole his sandwich.
That's legitimate.
Guard your sandwich. And they take it
Keep it on your
personally.
plate.
Like, why would they do that to me?
Because it's a dog.
They don't understand. We're the same. We're like, why would anyone do this to me? And for the agent, the editor, it's just a sandwich. They do either want it or they don't.
And I work as an editor too. I should have said that at the beginning. That's my actual job. So I'm the person crushing everyone's dreams.
Oh, I'm not an acquisitions editor. I'm a copy editor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
I just tell them that M dash is one too many.
yeah, and it is worth keeping in mind. This is the editor's job. Like it's not personal.
Yeah.
They are just doing their job, and they also might be cranky or
Right.
yeah. It's worth keeping in mind.
Yep, and a lot of times the editor makes it better. Like if you look at To Kill a Mockingbird and compare it to Go Set a Watchman, which is basically like a first draft of To Kill a Mockingbird, you can see, hey, the editor did a lot of work there, and doggone it, they made it a whole lot better.
Yeah. Someone bought Go Set a Watchman for me. I have not and shall not read it. I should probably just give it away. I don't want.
not read it.
Why would I want to ruin To Kill a Mockingbird for myself? No, thank you.
Basically, I think it's useful in showing how much better To Kill a Mockingbird was after the revisions.
I'll just believe you.
Yeah. All right, so after this conversation, I'm processing it all. I think if your book gets rejected at the final stage, 50 points. If it's
I think so.
rejected by like the early stage of publisher, how about 30 points?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Any other little nuances I'm missing in the
Do
scoring
you
system?
get the 5 point or the ×5 bonus for every stage? Like, would you get ×5 50 if it was a publisher who you really
that's a
thought
good
was a good fit?
That's just depressing. I'm winning this darn thing.
Hey, Dawn.
We'll buy you presents. Oh, Evangeline. You're gonna find a home for it. You will.
I say, let's make it a ×3 multiplier to make
Okay.
it not quite so effective. And
So
yes.
extreme. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So the ultimate would be if you are rejected at the final stage by a publisher who is the perfect fit for you, which would get you 150 points.
Which is you.
Yeah, so yes, that would
that's
be
you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. So that would be the one that told me that was a near miss.
Yep.
That was the letter I got.
So
Said all good things about it. I was sure it was my publisher, Milkweed Press. Tell them, hey,
Oh, I've
why?
read some of their stuff. They have good stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jean.
Mandy knows. Mandy's very aware.
I was a near miss there. I was a near miss there.
So one of the comments on my, high scoring rejection,
150 pointer.
Yeah.
was this is my Bronte novel, and the editor said the dilapidated house that you have in this book is too much like the actual house in Wuthering Heights.
Okay,
It's supposed to be the actual house.
to me, that's a
Why is that
stupid
a
editor.
problem?
I don't know.
Oh no.
Right? You're like, and it was absolutely detailed
To be this.
rejection letter, like they had clearly read it, and it began with "we wanted to like this" or "we wanted." And then to
Do
be
they
like
think
told
that makes it
is
better?
Too
We wanted
much.
to like
It
this?
is too much like the actual house in Wuthering Heights. Okay.
You're like, it is the
You
house.
succeeded in your intent too much. If you had
How
succeeded
dare you.
less, we would have accepted you.
Keep trying.
Oh yeah, keep trying what?
I know.
What do you keep trying?
I
at
had
that
a Christian
point? Make it
publisher-
less.
I had a Christian publisher reject me because the mom and dad didn't stay together. And I'm like, I'm sorry, did you think they should? Because I don't think you read my book very closely.
That's a whole other topic.
Like, yeah. So that rejection I didn't mind because I was
Not
like,
150
I
points.
do not care.
Yeah, that
If
would
that's
you
why
would
you
you would
rejected
not
it?
have gotten the ×3 multiplier.
No, I get
That
like,
does not sound like a good fit.
no, that was not a good fit.
All right, well, guys, I feel really good about our scoring system.
I'm glad.
I'm sure there will be nuances that we'll be developing, and I'll be making up the rules as we go along. That's another
You
word
go
for saying
right
I'll be
ahead.
developing the nuance.
Yeah.
Great.
But I really feel good about this, and as Michael Scott once said in The Office, I am ready to be heard again.
Oh gosh.
So
That's an excellent quote.
So let's. I'll try to bring it back in for
Bring it
the
back in.
ending here.
Okay.
Takeaways. One, remember your material is not you. Two, your current material may be bad, but you can get better. So keep working at it.
Okay, how about not bad, but it may. It
might be
never
bad,
mind.
though.
It might
Let's
be
be
bad. You're
honest.
right.
Your,
You're right.
your
It might be
current
bad.
material right now is not the end stage material.
There you
Keep
go.
working
That's
at it,
good.
and you will get better.
There you go.
Have that growth mindset. Seek out good advice. Learn to sift good advice from bad advice.
Right.
And keep working, because oftentimes it's the ones who just keep on trucking along that end up succeeding in the end. And I'll also add, keep in mind, writing is worthwhile regardless of whether it's published or not. So
Yep.
if you enjoy it, it's okay. Just keep doing it. It's a good thing to do.
Yes.
And you might be Kirk.
Or maybe you're Kirk.
Maybe you're Kirk.
He is out there. He does exist.
He does.
Kirk may be published, but yeah, he's public enemy number one at this
He's just,
podcast.
a published award-winning author. No problem.
Whatever.
And
Forget
nice.
that guy.
It's extra bad because he's nice too.
Whatever. I never met Kirk, but whatever. All right. So to everyone except for Kirk, I wish you all the best. I even wish Kirk all the best. And as you all can tell, things are winding down here at the Anselm Society Digital Pub. The customers are trundling home. You've polished off your final glass, and you're writing on that one pitch to that one magazine, even though you know it's only 1 point in the rejectionometer. Once again, Believe to See is a podcast of the Anselm Society Arts Guild. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time.